Hello everyone, thank you very much for coming back to the channel. So, the internet is full of drawing tips, but you know what? Today we're gonna do it a little bit differently. Today, we're going to do the opposite. We're going to be giving you 5 worst drawing tips that I've actually believed at some point. The kind of advice that sounds deep, but really just makes you cry over your sketchbooks at 2 a.m. And yeah, some of these might sound familiar because we've all done them. So, grab your pen, get comfortable, and let's destroy your art together. Bad advice number 1. Tracing isn't cheating, it's time efficiency. Well, that could be true if your goal is to finish your art the quickest way possible. But tracing isn't going to teach you anything. But you'll often hear people say, tracing helps you learn proportions faster, which is partially true until you realize that tracing doesn't really teach you all the mechanisms that goes behind the drawing. Tracing is like using GPS your whole life and never learning the streets. Sure, you'll get to your destination, but take the map away and all of a sudden you're lost. But what happens when you're asked to draw in front of someone? Are you just going to trace something? That's not going to impress anybody. Here's a better version. Trace to study, not to hide. Trace something once or twice just to understand it. Then draw it again freehand. That's when your brain starts connecting the dots. If all you do is trace, you'll end up copying other people's mistakes too. If you want to trace, you definitely can do that for study, but you gotta let go at some point. And I gotta admit, when I was still learning, I did trace a lot of art, and I thought it was making me better. Did it help me? Maybe in the short term. But to be able to draw something from scratch, that was the actual skill I was trying to learn. And tracing something did not help me do that at all. What did help me do that though, was to study gesture drawings. And I'm not even talking about anatomy. I'm talking about gestures, movement, and energy from the human body. Try studying swimmers and dancers. Since they exert their body to the extreme, drawing them allows you to learn how the body moves. And that's going to accelerate your learning more than tracing could ever hope to achieve. Bad advice number 2. Don't study anatomy, just freaking wing it, okay? Well, you know what? Drawing hands is very difficult. And not only that, you need to consider that they have bones, joints, and angles. And somehow, you still manage to draw 8,000 of them and they all look wrong anyway. So, we do what we logical artists would do. Hide them, behind the back, inside the pocket, cut out of frame. I call this piece the handless maiden. But you know what? Here's the twist. The moment you start studying them, they actually become less terrifying. Because the problem isn't hands, it's fear. Fear of drawing something ugly, fear of the struggle, and even worse, fear of the work itself. Do 50 pages of drawing terrible hands, and you'll realize it's not about making them perfect, it's about making them recognizable, making them make sense. And I promise you, once you learn anatomy, hands, feet, whatever it is, they will all become part of your storytelling, and not a curse to avoid. Bad advice number 3. Don't use references, just use your imagination. Yes, the true artist mindset. Real creativity comes from within. But you know what else comes from within? Delusion. Every time I try to draw purely from imagination, I tend to forget things. That's because the way we recollect our imagination isn't entirely perfect. Unless you've memorized every details like some of these godlike artists do, not using reference will just hinder you from reaching your potential. Use them shamelessly too, mix them and twist them. But remember this, the goal isn't to copy, it is to understand what's real so you can bend it in your own way. Bad advice number 4. Practice is overrated. You're already very good, you don't need a teacher. Okay, so I've made these mistakes in many aspects of my life, but I've been gaslit by my friends and family that I was very good at what I do. But it turns out that there's only so much that talent can achieve. What you need to do is practice and actually learn the skill. Even young, talented prodigies, there's a point in their life where skill will just overtake their talent. So do not be encouraged when you see somebody who draws better than you. Instead, take that as an opportunity to motivate yourself to reach that level. Bad advice number 5. The tool makes the artist. Just buy a better pen or a $4,000 drawing tablet. That will make your art instantly great, right? Right? I've fallen for this trap once again when I was young. And to be fair, there are some level of truth to this. But it's not about the quality of the equipment, but how you feel while using it. I love drawing with a pen that has a good grip, where I can feel the paper vibrating in my hands when I stroke it with a pen, versus a softer ball pen that just slides in the canvas. However, this doesn't necessarily make your art better, or you a better artist. It's all about knowledge and the ability to make do with what you have. A good photographer can take a really good picture with a very cheap camera. In turn, you should also be an artist that can draw really well with cheap materials. I drew this with a $20 secondhand Huion tablet back in 2017. Is it good? Probably not. Could I have done better with a Cintiq that cost me my year's salary? Most likely no. The tool does not make the artist. In fact, it's the other way around. It shouldn't matter if you're drawing with a pen and paper or a very expensive tablet. As long as you have your fundamentals down and your ability to draw is unhindered, you don't need expensive top-of-the-line equipment to draw really well. Here's a bonus tip. If your art looks bad, don't just add special effects to make it look better. Instead, just let it be bad on its own. Identify what makes it bad and learn from your mistakes, then move on to the next drawing. Just be sure not to make the same mistakes again. Draw something terrible today and learn something from it every time you do. Little by little, day by day, eventually your art will look massively different from when you started. Okay, that pretty much wraps us up. Those were 5 terrible tips that you shouldn't take seriously or have very little merit to them. Now I want to know, what's the worst advice you've ever heard? Drop it in the comment section and maybe I'll even roast it in part 2. As always, like and subscribe if you like this video and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye you!